All right, good evening, guys, and welcome to this week's Live at 9:45. And as you can see, it's a little different than it has been in the past. I have special guests with me, my dad, Mark VanOrd, and he builds some awesome, crazy awesome stuff, and is a big instrumental part of what I do in this hobby and a big part of why I enjoy it. So I'm excited to have him on. Before I get started, let me go over some ground rules and some of the stuff that I ask of you while this is going on. As the show is going on, please refrain from going past the whole PG level in the comments section. I do have them up on screen so that you can see them in an attempt to keep them after the fact, because I feel like the comments bring part of the show to life. Additionally, the mic is in a weird spot tonight due to the fact that there are two of us. And so I've picked up the gain a little bit. If you feel that we're too quiet or anything like that, some feedback coming from you guys would be greatly appreciated. Let me pull up my chat feed right now to see if any of that's going on. We really can't tell. We don't hear the audio. Only you hear the audio. Additionally, some of the other things I'd like to mention, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and hit that alert bell. That will get you notified every time I add an event or every time I go live. That's extremely beneficial to you because it makes it easier for you to find, join, and participate in the live feeds every week here on Live at 9:45. Other than that, I think we can get this thing up and running and get this show on the road. Let me pull up my questions and begin some conversation. Here, level's good, sounds good. Thank you guys. Let me look at some of these comments. All right, awesome. We don't have a ton of people in here yet, but that's not necessarily uncommon toward the beginning of the live feed. Guys who are in here, if you want to share that around and get a little more action in the comments section, that would be cool. We genuinely would appreciate that. So we're going to start this show off like we do with most of the other ones here, and go to my dad here and say, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as Adam has said, I'm his father. He is my oldest son. I have one other son that's younger. I have two grandchildren, a boy and a girl. I'm very blessed to have one of each. I've worked for a diesel engine manufacturer for 39 years now in the maintenance department, doing repair on any types of breakdowns and that kind of thing, which is led to helping fix and repair anything that breaks around the house, and cars and trucks and you name it.
All right, Dad, talk louder. Can't hear you.
Okay.
I'll turn the levels up a little bit too, guys. Let me know if I'm drowning you out. So go ahead, keep going.
Keep going. I'm not much of a talker, I guess, so he's gonna have to keep prodding me.
I can do that.
I'm not real sure what else to go here.
All right. So let's move on to our next question, which is typically on this list. What got you started in RC, and how long have you been in the hobby?
Recently, RC-wise, was probably 8 or 9 years ago. Adam bought a truck, was playing around with it, and he's talking about doing a comp. And he come across one and wanted to go up into New York State to a competition, and then he talked me into going with him. We rode up there, and it really wasn't quite what we were looking for, but it was still a lot of fun. Did a lot of learning. I ended up buying my first truck actually there, because the place that was holding it was going out of business, and I got kind of a deal on it, so I picked up a axial Wraith. And as it worked out, that really wasn't what I really needed, because I kind of got, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Flustered with it, trying to compete with it.
Oh, yeah.
Jumping into like the Class 3 era when you've never done any of it before is really tough, because that's a really competitive class to jump right into.
Right, and I agree. And so one of the things that was frustrating is I was hooked. Like, hook, line, and sinker, I was in, and then I knew that if I could get him involved and excited about it, that I would be able to get him hooked as well. But the Wraith just wasn't cutting it, and I think it's one of those things that all of the people who've been around the hobby for a while try to urge people not to do, and that is do a little research before you buy something, and then pick something that like has a wide array of opportunities for you to use it. And we kind of got cornered into the have to do class 3 if you're going to go to a competition, and that made it a little frustrating. So, all right, what or who got you into the hobby in general?
As far as the rock crawling and the trucks, that would be you.
Yeah, I did.
Hooked me right into it. Well, a little prodding from my wife. She said that would be something that I could do with Adam to, to be able to spend more time with him now that the children have grown.
Mm-hmm. All right. So one of the things that most of the people, even people who know you and have competed with you and have been around, probably don't realize is that at one point in time you were pretty heavily involved in building some airplanes and doing model airplane, RC flying, and all of that. Can you talk a little bit about that, and like when was that?
Long time ago. I think I figured about 45 years ago I started building and flying model airplanes. They had a variety fair at our school at one time for the music boosters, I think it was, and the RC the plane club, RC plane club, came there and put on kind of like a demonstration type thing, and I kind of got hooked there and really wanted to do it, and so we talked my dad into getting us a radio. My brother and we talked my dad into getting us a radio and the stuff, and we got a kit, and we built the plane. It happened to be, if anybody's familiar with it at all, was a Sig Cadet trainer plane. It's probably about a 48-inch wingspan or so, flat bottom wing, high wing plane, easy to fly, nice trainer plane to learn on. My brother and I built it, got it ready to fly. We had a guy come up that flies, and he offered to take it off for us and get it up there and let us try and fly it, but we were stubborn. We wanted to learn ourselves, so my brother and I both learned ourselves to fly, taught ourselves to fly when nobody else ever took the stick. First, I think I did it first, and then he did it next, and we just kept practicing. And you guys may find it hard to believe, but that plane hangs in one piece in my garage, upstairs in my garage. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty awesome. So I haven't talked to you a lot about the whole plane hobby stuff and all of that. I grew up with them hanging in the garage. I never really put it all together. And then when we used to race BMX bikes, and so when we were racing BMX bikes at one point, you had pulled it back out and you were using one, toying around with it, and that was pretty cool. I definitely enjoyed that. So.
Yeah, we took it to one track and flew it, and at that point even it was so old that the glue, I pulled the firewall right out of the fuselage, and the engine was kind of hanging nose down. And I still was able to get it down and landed it with it that way, but the glue joints were just giving out on it because it'd been so long. But I'd built several planes over the years and years ago.
Right. Oh, excuse me, guys. So if you weren't into the RC hobby, what hobby do you think you would be into more heavily?
I'd probably definitely be riding a motorcycle a little bit more. Maybe doing some more archery shooting. Definitely I'd like to get back into doing some fishing. Haven't done any fishing for several years now. Just haven't had time.
Yeah. Fishing's definitely a time suck. I haven't done any fishing in a while either. Are you a big tire or small tire fan? Standard questions coming at you. Right at you.
All right. Well, I thought I kind of liked the big tires, but the more I've played with the smaller ones, so I would say I'm more mid to small size tires, class 2, class 1 type tires. The more realistic type situations, or if you're running on a trail, it's more realistic looking.
Mm-hmm. Right. I tend to agree with you. We kind of, when we started out, we were headed in more in the big tire thing, and it was more popular in our area and more fun and more people were involved, and now it's kind of shifting to like the ultra realism, and both you and myself, our builds have kind of shifted in that direction. So brushed or brushless?
You and I go round and round about this one, but I have one truck with brushless in it, and I have never really liked the brushless. And there's different reasons, but now with some of the newer technology, maybe the brushless I would be happier with it. But at this point, I still am a brushed fan. I love the control I get with a brushed motor for crawling.
All right, guys, and so let's keep this thing a little bit interactive there. People in here watching, brushed or brushless, and tell me why. Okay, so let's move on, and this is a unique question that I always like to ask people, and I hit or miss it on interviews. I don't ask everyone, but what is your favorite part about the RC hobby in general?
In general, the whole thing is getting to be able to hang out with you and have fun. The camaraderie with all the other folks that we've come to know now and run trucks with, and it's just a blast to be around all the people that like to run tiny trucks and have a good time with it.
Right. Okay, so let's do the thing that everybody wants to tune in for, and let's do a little show and tell. So let's pull out and talk about the truck from the thumbnail photo. Name of it, and then describe some of that and what's going on there with that truck to the people on the show. Hold on, let me give you a show and tell screen. Sorry, guys, this whole new thing is little bit getting me right now. Okay, give them the show and tell.
Okay, this is my first real out and out build, I guess you would call it. And believe it or not, my inspiration actually came from Adam. He's like, boy, I'd like to build a semi into a crawler. So what do? I go and do it.
Well, the cool thing about that is, so I have lots of ideas, but my wallet's not as big. So I can tell him the ideas, and then he can go and build all the stuff because he has time. He had the time and the money at the moment, and so I always operated, honestly, all my stuff's a little more on a budget than most of your stuff has been across the board. Yeah. And so it's two different worlds, and it was nice because I lived vicariously through him. It was fun.
It's just the stage of life that you're in, you know.
Yeah.
As you get older, you got a little more to play with, but hopefully. But this truck, I told him what I wanted and everything, and then Christmas time comes, my wife just gives him kind of like the open book, and I get all this stuff for Christmas, and then I can work on it all winter. But I took this cab and completely destroyed it. I mean, I cut it all apart, just trying to make it so it's Sorca legal once it was all done, because I've widened the actual cab. I widened by about 3/4 of an inch on both sides of center. There'd be a spot down through here and a spot down through here that got widened. And I took the sleeper. It was a double sleeper cab. I turned it into like a single sleeper cab, plus chopped it down level wise, and actually used part of the sleeper cab for the bed that's on the back. And it's all built on an SCX-10 chassis. It's got Wraith axles with. And there again, I rely on Adam for all my technical upgrades and what I really need as far as the good stuff. So yeah. He helped me find some great axles and went from there. And I put a good amount of time into this truck. It was probably my most enjoyable build that I've ever built.
All right, well, that's awesome. It's probably one of my favorite trucks that you've built. It's been around quite a while now, and you've kept it pretty much intact and pretty safe, especially for a class 3. So it's a well-lived class 3, I can tell you that. All right, so let's move on to another question. This is a little different when you've got the person sitting right next to you than instead on the other side. Okay, so why do you have such a small social media presence? And it seems that a lot of the builders in the RC scale community tend to like to put their stuff out there and show it off, but you don't necessarily go in that direction. Why do you kind of go the other way?
I guess maybe I'm just not quite as technical, how do you want to say it?
Tech savvy?
Yeah, as the younger crowd. part of it. You've done some of it for me, helped spread some of my builds around a little bit. In fact, this one that's in front of us was actually, we sent it in to Scale Wars on the actual battle of the builders.
Yeah,
and had a little
over on Extreme Scale Performance channel. Go check his channel out, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Josh does some awesome stuff. But yeah, his truck was on Scale Wars and the Tri-Van was on Scale Wars, and so that was a good time.
It was.
It was nice to receive some recognition for the time and effort spent, and one of the things I liked about that was that he really went over stuff with a fine-tooth comb and found stuff that I had never seen on my build, or looked at being not there or needing improvement, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yes, he did, and looking at it again just the other day, I might just do more with this truck and go more that route and keep it a shelf queen type thing, just because I'm not running it so much lately.
All right. So we're gonna do some more show and tell, because that's what I think is the most interesting about what's going on with you here. You tend to build these trucks, take them out to comps, and then show up and then drive the wheels off of them. So not a lot of people always see all of that stuff. So I want to pull the one from behind us that's living in the dark shadows back here and talk a little bit about that. And so I'm going to switch the screen back for the whole show and tell deal and get that up nice and close. The cool thing about this one is it's pretty much, I mean, tell them about it. I'll pull it out.
This one is basically just a SCX 10.2 chassis. I wanted to build a mean looking older style looking truck type thing, but I wanted it to be really competitive, so I went with as tight to the rules as I felt I could. Adam helped me a lot there. This whole truck body itself is made out of styrene. It was my first real, well, on the semi one I did use some styrene, but not to the extent. This is all handmade from flat styrene, my rock rat here. I built it out of, what do I want to call that?
Like a thick cardstock.
Cardstock and masking tape. I actually made the whole body. It was all sitting on the chassis and everything out of cardstock. It was all masking tape together. So then I was able to just cut it apart with scissors, and I had patterns to use to make it out of the styrene. And it came out really, really well. And it's not really a scale looking truck, so to speak, but it was built for competitiveness, and it is a fierce competitor.
Right, and the other thing that's cool about it, and I don't think a lot of people pick up on, because once you change the body to something that custom, you seem to think that underneath everything else has changed. And so underneath, the real heart of this thing still lies basically just an SCX 10.2. There aren't that many upgrades on there.
No, I mean, I put aluminum C-hubs and stuff up front. I did go with the beef tubes housings just because the housings were wanting to bow on me, but that's just been real recently that I've added those.
Right. And so people in the live comments, people commenting afterwards, I'm curious, do you do scale building? Do you build stuff from scratch? And if so, what was the first thing that you tackled? What was your first build, your first thing that you really put all the time and the effort into? And how do you think it turned out? Okay. So if you had to say and pick from any of your RCs, you can include your plain stuff. But if you had to say from any of your RCs and pick, what would be your favorite RC of all time?
As far as to build or to run?
I mean, either.
To play, just to go out and play with.
Sure.
Go out and play with. That's a really tough question. They're all fun to go out and play with, but the rat here, it's a beast. It'll just go anywhere.
Yeah. I definitely like that one too. It's super fun. I forgot to transition, so I'm transitioning back again, guys. It's gonna take me some time to get used to that, let me tell you. And I think again it'll be a little different when I have a guest on the computer, on all of that stuff, versus when I have someone sitting right next to me, because I get like lost in conversation. It's weird. I have to tell you, it's very weird. But you all probably will pick up on that. Anyway, back to what we're talking about, because that was super informative for you. Okay, so do you compete in scale competitions? If so, why? And like, what format do you prefer the most? I'm gonna retire this to the shelf.
Yeah, I love to go do the competitions. I've got a competitive nature to me, that's for sure. And it came from trying to beat this guy over here, which now happens quite frequently.
It does. Yes.
And there was a couple other guys that I've kind of put targets on their backs and aimed for, and I finally caught up with them. And it's kind of fun to do that, and it's all in good nature. I mean, you don't go out there and get upset if they don't win and this and that, but you always go out there and try to do your best. And I try to help everybody, and anybody that needs help or would, ask a question, try to answer their questions and everything, because to me, the better everybody gets, the more fun it is. It really is.
Right, which is one of the things that I love about scale crawling, and that I noticed is, so when you hear people talk about racing, and I was not a racer, I didn't race, so I don't know this for sure, but when you hear people talk about racing, they talk about the fact that people keep setups secret, and they have little tricks of the trade and they don't tell anybody about, and so on and so forth. Excuse me. However, in the crawling world, it seems like if you will listen to someone, they will literally tell you everything and talk until you can't stand them talking anymore. And so it's not a bad thing. That's a great thing. People in crawling tend to genuinely want to share and help and be kind to one another. And that's probably one of the things I love the best.
And as far as the competitions, I like, because it forces you to try to run the lines that they want you to run because of the gates and whatnot. I mean, if you're just out trail running, a lot of times you'll try a hard line, but most of the time it'll be like, well, I'll try something a little easier than that. And you tend to get, to me, you tend to get better. The harder lines you try to run, you tend to get better.
Right, and I absolutely agree with that. All right, more show and tell. Let's pull over the Jeep that you're building and talk a little bit about the backstory with that. That I really like this one, and I like where it originated from and where it came from to begin with. So.
This is my YJ project I started last year about this time.
Mm-hmm.
It got to be spring. I needed to change up my class 1 truck, so I kind of dropped this. I really need to get going back on it again. I've got a lot of inspiration onto this Jeep off of Joe Garlack and his Jeep build. And if you're familiar with that at all and look at it, it's going to look quite familiar to that underneath the hood. It's all built in. I don't know if we can see down in there a little bit.
Should be able to. You can push it a little closer to the camera for them. Yeah.
Good.
Super cool glare.
The inner fenders are all all in there and stuff. And the body, I've completely got the interior going on with the console in the center. Everything's going to have an opening lid. What's really strange about this truck, and Adam will tell you, I couldn't get the 3D printed motor where I wanted it on this RC 4-wheel drive short wheelbase chassis to where it looked right up front. So lo and behold, here in the back is where the motor is. Oop, there went that. And you can see the transmission, everything's in the rear. So this box I took off there, I'm going to turn that into like a cooler or something else that's inside the Jeep in the back end, so you don't even know that there's a motor back there.
Right, and so basically the one thing I like, so I had my Class 3 at one point had the motor in the back, and although it's not necessarily the most performance-oriented thing, the motor in the back is unique, and I like the outside-of-the-box thinking, because you wanted to put the scale motor up front. You ran out of room, you ran out of space, so you went way outside of the box, over in left field, and kind of decided, like, hey, I'm just gonna put the actual motor back there.
Yeah, and I'm burying everything, like couldn't see very good when I rolled over there, but when you look underneath, you're not going to see any wires, you're not going to see the motor, any of that. It's all definitely buried, and this is already set up and rolling. I have driven it around the house quite a little bit.
Right. So one of the other things, I don't know if you have them on you, I know you were bringing them, and I don't know, but so you can buy like the hinges and all of that stuff, but he went and made them. Did you put them out in the truck still, or are they in here?
They're here.
All right. And so I thought showing that off would be interesting, because really what it speaks to is that if you want to make something and you take your time and you just take the effort and go for it, you can pretty much make, I mean, literally anything. And so he's made door hinges and the hood hinges, and he made them out of brass, correct?
Copper.
Oh, they're copper. Okay. So, all right. I'm going to check out the next question while he pulls those out. All right. So, hopefully you can get them out and up and where they can see.
I don't have them drilled yet, but hopefully you can see.
Up and closer. It's not focusing on.
No, those are the hood hinges, but they're so small it's going to be hard to see them. Right.
And so if you follow me, I mean, I can take a picture and post them on Instagram or whatever. Check out my Instagram, VanOrd_customs.
The door ones are made so the doors will pick right off the side of the Jeep one
when it's all said and done and it's built. So yeah, like a lot of Jeeps would have, or Jeeps of that vintage would have, you can just pick the door right off and go doorless.
Right.
So, all right. So I'm going to transition this back so we can start seeing some of those comments again, and keep them coming, guys. I appreciate them. If you have any questions you want answered, by all means, ask away, and I'll do my best to pick up on them and get them fit into what's going on. Oh, I just saw one. It says, where are you putting the battery for that build? Do you have a plan?
Underneath.
I don't know if they can hear you because you're off camera now.
I'll come back. Okay. Right in underneath the floorboard, underneath the seats, on the outside of the frame rails, I'll build the battery compartments right there. At the moment, I'm running my Class 1 truck is a, what is that body? That's
oh, it's the China JK.
I made a pockets underneath that, right in that same area for my batteries, and it's working out very well. So that's where the batteries for this one will end up too.
Well, and that's where mine are on the China JK. So the China JK has like a well where the seat like goes up in from underneath the floorboard, and my batteries tuck right inside that well. I just have a piece of aluminum in there that they slide under, and they just pressure fit in there. Yours is a little more detailed, and you can run a bigger battery, but in the same location.
Yeah, and this I'll just make the pockets up underneath the floorboards there, just like that.
Mm-hmm.
Should work out fine.
Absolutely. So next question is, what is one thing you'll never leave off a scale build?
I'll pull this back down real quick. One thing I'll never leave off a scale build is a VanOrd Customs scale license plate.
Okay.
I got one on every one of my builds.
Shameless license plate plug. You can get them over on the website. It's in the comments. In the description of the video below, there's a link. Just click it. Go over there. If you use VC 2018, you can get 10% off. Next, who are your influences in the scale crawling segment of our hobby? And if you could pick someone to have on the show, who would it be? And you can pick past people too if you want.
Boy. Well, my biggest influence is my son here, Adam. Then after that, I'd have to say, give a shout out to probably Ryan Cormesser there from RC Attic. some guys from the Guru clan down there, Joe Keski, Todd Grundish. Shoot, I can't remember everybody's names. I'm terrible with names, but there's a bunch of you out there that I really enjoy watching and following. Goldwing.
Oh yeah, yep. Which a lot of you guys probably don't know him very well. He was bigger into it in our area when we first started out, and now he's an older gentleman, and very much like Dad, he doesn't do a lot of posting online. Very, very, very little of it. But when he shows up, he's a fierce competitor, and he builds some super cool stuff. But if you don't see him in person, he's like a ghost. He's elusive.
And if I'd have to have suggest somebody to be on, I would suggest him.
Oh, that's an interesting suggestion. I don't know if he'd do it. We'll see.
Well, you never thought I'd do it for you either.
That's true. That's true. I didn't know that you would or would not. So, out there floating around the internet, because I know you pay attention, and you someone said I have some Goldwing TF2 parts. That's the same Goldwing. That is who makes those TF2 parts. So he does machine shop work, yep. Correct? And his attention to detail is second to none. Metal fabrication. He has this aluminum rock like buggy build, and it hasn't been changed since I've ever met him, and it will hold its own and hang with any class 3 that you put on the table. And I mean, we're talking this build is probably 7 years old, 8 years old.
Quite a while.
So definitely a cool guy. And I don't know, maybe I'll get him on the show. We'll see.
Do some arm twisting.
Maybe. I mean, I could just like send the tri-van with his wife because she wants it. But who are the drivers you like seeing at events and competing against?
That's got to be from Jamie Young.
Yep.
I like trying to beat Jamie. I like trying to beat Adam. Joe Keski's always right there on my list, trying to beat and stay with. And it's all in good fun. I mean, they're all great drivers, great competitors, and like I've said before, that's what really makes it a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Ryan Kornmesser there, he's always on my list to try to beat. There's others too, and I just can't think of the names right now, but it's the beating them is not the whole thing. It's trying to stay with them or even with them at least. I mean, when I first started, I was trying to, like, for new people starting, you always want to try to do better the next time you go than what you did the last time. Engage yourself that way. Don't get disappointed if you can't be right up with the top runners at first, because when the first comps I went to, I think I cleared 3 gates, and I was done. Out of 10, I was done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I can speak to that as well, as far as the whole try to do better than you did the first time, and it's not always about trying to beat people. We got a name for Goldwing. I know his name. All right, so sorry, I got caught up in reading comments. You know, the thing that tell everybody else not to do. But anyway, speaking to what he was saying is that once you get into it, like a lot of the people that Dad named are guys we've now been competing with for 6, 7, 8 years, and so there's a lot of back and forth. First place changes hands frequently, and it's always a competition, a little bit of the back and forth, a little of the back and forth conversation, and in doing that, it's gotten fun, and that camaraderie and the competitive nature of it that all of those guys have is really what drives it and makes it a good time. So, all right. What is your favorite build floating around out there on the internet that is not your own?
There's a lot of them out there that are great builds. I don't know of all of them because I don't get on the social media near as much as say you do or some of the younger folks, but I think you and I talked about a couple of them just a little bit ago, right? Mm-hmm. The half track and the steam truck that he had down to ECS sealer last fall. It was like unreal. And it's
Matt Kett from the Scale Builders Guild. And if anybody wants to know, I did lock down Matt for a second interview this year, just the other day. I don't remember the date. It's in my calendar over here. I'll talk a little bit more about upcoming interviews and so on and so forth. But he is locked down. He will be back. And I, for one, cannot wait to hear what he's working on because it always is intriguing. So, all right. So, next thing that I want to do is something that I've not done on Live at 9:45, and it's literally just because it happens to be here. You see a lot of unboxing videos and so on and so forth, and because I happen to have a live guest right here and something that's been talked about a lot, we literally have not taken this Redcat Gen 8 out of the box yet, so we're going to open it. And if you have questions about it, I will literally answer your questions for the next like 5, 6, 7, 10 minutes maybe. Pop them up, ask questions. I'll do my best to show it to the camera. I'm going to leave the feed up so that people can see the questions being asked. But I'll pull it out, talk about it a little bit, and then I do have some more questions to finish up the feed with Dad here. But when he said he was interested, so the story behind this goes, we had got the Redcat. We're going to run it this weekend. We're going to literally... someone said run it out of the box. We need to cut the box,
yeah, we're gonna
so
do
we
that.
can
We're
drive
gonna
it
do that. It's gonna
out of
drive
the box and across the starting line. So anyway, I am going to literally do that. But anyway, it arrived last night late. He stopped, and I was like, hey, we should do a scale unboxing, or we should do an unboxing video that's live because I'm all set up to do live, and it's fairly easy. And one thing came to another, and he said, hey, well, I want to come down and do the live video. And I said, if you're coming to do the live unboxing, I'm not letting you get away without an interview because I want to show off your trucks, and I've wanted to interview for a long time. And so that's all awesome. And so we did pick this up from RC Addict, and I see him commenting right now that he just went through one of them, made some brass D-links, so you can check that out on rcaddict.us. They're up there. So we're going to unbox this thing. I'm not going to talk a lot about the box. There's a lot of people out there who have unboxed this truck, and I might honestly do a legitimate formal unboxing video as well. But in all aspects, we're going to take it out of the box, and you guys can
ask questions.
I'd be more than happy to answer them. Ryan says he has a couple that are up for pre-order still if you're in this feed. My guess would be they'll be gone very quickly. So if you're watching this later, maybe not necessarily on a pre-order, but you could probably still get one. So I'm going to stand up. I'm going to apologize if my head gets cut off, if the mic doesn't work out right. Really, I don't have the best unboxing set up right now. So we're going to need some wire dikes. Okay, you can go find them. You know where all the tools are. All right. So just like most boxes, the top of the box comes off. That's a good part of boxes. And so you get all the goodies, the handout packet stuff, some plastics, and so on and so forth. And again, guys, feel free to ask questions. You get your bubble package wrap. I know that a lot of people have already done this, but I figured if I could possibly show you anything you needed to know or had a question about, I could do that live right now. And maybe you would be better off for it, or I would be better off for it. I'm going to drop this down the next level here on my stuff, and I hit the mic, so I'm sure that sounded great. Pick this piece out. Alright, so that piece comes out. So there's the truck out of the box. Literally still has the plastic wrap on it. And so I'm probably going to, I don't know, I don't even care if I take that off. It has to come off for the comp, right? Yeah. So, shiny, it's orange, it's big. In case no one knows how to open a box. Yes, none of you know how to open a box, and I am teaching you. And so all of that stuff that normally would be in a box is inside of there. Is it good popping wrap?
Yeah, it looks like it.
I don't think it's good popping wrap. Will I ship it to you? No, I won't ship it to you, but Ryan probably would ship one to you. Alright, so let's see how we get this thing actually out of here. It has to have wire ties? Oh, yeah. Alright, cut those wire ties. And then if anybody wants to see underneath it, any of that good stuff that you maybe have or have not already seen, let me know. If not, we'll move on. We'll finish our interview, but it was here. I can take it out of the box. I can show it to you before doing an official unboxing or any of that good stuff. And you can see how it comes out of there. So, wire ties coming out. Maybe the other way. You can tell we've already had it out of the box, which is not the case at all. All right, it's not very heavy. It's very ready to run weight. Spare tire, radio inside of that guy. You can move that. And so again, I'm looking for questions, comments, any of that. Don't drop the radio. I'm not going to drop the radio. All right, so.
Working maintenance all my life, I'm pretty impressed with the engineering that's gone into this truck. The steel, I mean, it's got like steel housings on the differentials, or steel diff covers already. They got steel links on it all the way through. There's a steel steering horn on the servo. It's like, it's a well built truck.
Right. Ryan says take the body off, so we're going to take the body off. Before we do that, though, the 3D printed things, like everybody else has really probably talked about, but that really sets it off, like the 3D printed grille, the fender flares, so on and so forth. Companies doing that now really tend to make a big difference in the scale looks of the trucks, and I dig it. I also just noticed today as that someone shared a link to the Thingiverse for Redcat, and they have a bunch of free files for the Gen 8 and they have free files for the Gen 7. And so I was excited because the tech thing at school has a 3D printer now, and the kids may be able to print some of the parts for the Gen 7 at school as part of school stuff and so on and so forth. But the Gen 8 has a bunch of different grill options and all of those things. Make sure I grease the portals with some udder butter. All right, so let's see the chassis. Let's take the top off. Just Velcro, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so body coming off. You can see like it's got all the inner fender stuff. The Velcro's on the fenders, on the inside as well on the fenders, and that makes for a nice fit. I really like the inner fender wells coming with the truck. That makes it overall things are cleaner. Like, I know scale and all of that, scale points and all of those things, but overall if you run inner fenders, things are cleaner. Can print Thingiverse stuff if anyone doesn't have a printer, says Ryan. They say the horn is too short for full turning. I can look at that right now. So here's a servo. I don't know, I feel like it goes to lock.
It's hitting the diff cover.
On the diff cover. So I don't think the servo horn's too short for full turning. I think that a little bit of a bend in the front tie rod there could
possibly get more.
Yeah, it could give you a little more steering, a little more of that. It sits a little high for my liking, but then again, I take the springs off of everything and slam it on the ground. So yeah, like most people have done and talked about, the motors in the front. I like the fact that the portals are there. I'm really excited, truthfully, to get out and run it on the rocks at the competition, because that's really where it makes or breaks the truck and what goes on. I have to say, as someone who was always a axial believer and so on and so forth, and who was pretty skeptical of Redcat when the Gen 7s got donated to the high school and I saw how well they actually truly worked, I was pretty happy to have a chance to try one out, because I was surprised at how well those worked. And since this is the first in-house fully designed truck that they're putting out there on the market, I'm very excited to try this one out. So I'll have a lot more to talk about with it in the future. I am going to do a real honest review on it for the RC Addict channel as well, and I probably will rebox it and unbox it and do an actual unboxing video as well. But I figured if anybody had any questions, I could at least answer them since it was sitting here and we were live, and we could do that for you. I'm going to leave it up, sitting in front of us here. Pop it sideways. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you have any questions afterwards and you're watching this later, in the comments section, I'd be more than happy to answer those as well, because I will have the background knowledge necessary to do that also. Let me get this bubble wrap out of my way so I can see what's going on over here. All right. Let's run back to the questions now that I've kicked you off of camera and brought you back.
Brought me back.
What is your best piece of advice for people just entering into the RC community and want to like upgrade their RC trucks? But first, pause that. You can think. Someone asked, how does the bump steer look? I know from videos that the bump steer looked like it was a little bit of stuff going on. Let me see if I can get up close for you and compress it. I mean, I'd say that there's some bump steer, but I'm also going to tell you that we're talking tiny scale trucks. People get real bent out of shape about bump steer, and I think in an off-road 1-to-1 size rig, it's going to be a big deal, but with the slow speeds and the crawling, I've not noticed a massive effect of bump steer in anything I've ever built. And I know, like, I've had it on some of my rigs, for sure, and quite badly. And it never really has affected what was going on in the actual rock crawling application because of the slow speed. Now, if you were hauling across something, I can see that it would make a difference, but I haven't noticed a massive difference. And that's one of the things that gets brought up all the time, where I'm like, I don't really know how much stock I put in worrying about that, given what we're doing with them. So, all right. Back to your question about what would you recommend for people if they're looking to upgrade.
If they've already got something and want to upgrade, then I would, pay attention to what other people are running. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. I mean, like we've talked before, most everybody's pretty knowledgeable that have been around for a while, and they're more than willing to share. To me, it's amazing because it's unlike some other sports where, like Adam said, everybody hides their secrets and don't give them out. Here we tend to try to help everybody and get everybody on the same even playing field, so to speak. Other than that, I don't know. Yeah,
asking people is great advice. And along with asking people, you can't ask people if you don't go out to events. So go out to events and meet people, and don't be afraid to put yourself out there, because those guys that are out there doing that and running them, they're not intimidating. They want to talk to you just as much as you want to talk to them. Okay, so Bailey, I can say that you said that you're glad to hear that with the slow speeds that more than likely it won't affect much of anything with the bump steer. I mean, it does affect stuff, but I'm just telling you, like, when you talk about how big of a deal it truly is in application while you're driving it, any of that can be compensated for without too much effort. I'm not going to tell you that it doesn't move things around a little bit on you, but you can compensate for all of those things. All right. Ask the same question to different people. Yes, Roy, ask the same question to different people, for sure.
Because everybody's going to give you maybe a little bit different version, or everybody's got a different idea. And sometimes you have to take everybody's idea and kind of toss them around and choose for yourself what you feel is the best thing to try, or thing that maybe something's going to work for one person and it doesn't work for another. And I think most people that you talk to will even tell you that because they've been there and done that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I know for a fact that I've sourced most of the parts for your trucks and my trucks and helped you navigate how you built them, and you've strayed from my navigation because it didn't work for you, but it works for me.
Yep, and I found my own way of how it works.
Right, so I run everything slammed to the ground, completely droop, no suspension, travel, what's going on there. And I, as a result of that, don't, a lot of people don't like that aspect, and you're running stuff sprung and all over the map, and so it's different opinions, different people, all of those things go on. All right, let's move on. I got 2 more for you, and then if anybody else has any questions, ask them up quickly because we're drawing to an end here, folks. Do you currently have any sponsors, and if so, why did you elect to represent those people?
Well, I guess I do. I am on Precision RC Works team.
Mm-hmm.
I did not approach them, but I've run their products. I believe in their products. They're great products. They come and they ask me if I want to be on their team. And I'm like, sure. I'm running your products. I love them. They work great. I believe in them, and those are the types of things. I wouldn't go out searching for sponsors or whatever you want to call it, but if I believe in their product and I'm already running their product, I'm more than happy to try to plug their product and help that way.
Right.
So
if you do use something and you truly believe in it and you get the opportunity to support that, then that's what you should be doing.
That's right.
And so I am lucky enough to sit in the same boat where any of the sponsors that I am representing are in the same world where they have come to me and asked me to represent, and as a result, it was stuff I was running, stuff I believe in, and stuff I feel performs the best for my application. So, all right, question is the last one for you, and it is: what should we expect to see next from you?
Can I go to my notes?
Yes, you can look at your notes. You did good. You didn't even look at them the whole time.
I had something really good written up.
Hold on. Show them all the notes.
I had something really written good.
Oh, yeah.
All kinds of notes.
That's what we call pre-gaming and knowing what's going on, guys. No, I'm just joking.
I'm still not warming up this camera thing real good.
I mean, I have like 45 interviews under my belt, so
yeah.
I'm used to talking to the people.
What should you expect from me? Well, I don't really know, but I have some really off-the-wall ideas that I hope to have time to try and bring to life in the future. And hey, the sky is the limit. You never know what I'm going to come up with.
Question is, will you ever see it?
Only probably if you show it.
And that is probably the truest answer of all of them. All right, so we've reached an end of my questions that I had laid out for tonight. The feed doesn't seem to have any more questions for you. So is there anything I left out, anything you want to add before I close the show and end things for this evening and button it all up?
I think I just want to plug you here with this show. I think it's a great thing that you're doing for the RC community. It's trying to bring everybody together and see what's going on with everybody that's on the whole playing field of RC. I mean, from scale stuff to the rock racers and that stuff. I mean, I think it's fantastic.
Well, thank you. The original thing was seriously just kind of selfish. Just wanted to talk to people, and it still kind of is a little bit. But
well, there again, you're learning every time. Right. Every time you interview people, you learn more.
Right, and I have a little problem with I can't ever shut off the learning. It's probably part of the whole teacher thing and being a teacher and all of that. But this is something that I do on a daily basis for the most part, is talk to people, and I really enjoy it, and I'm excited that you guys keep tuning in. Without all of you tuning in and participating and following along, this would have died a long time ago, because it can be a bunch of work. It's not always a lot of work. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But without all of the help and the support along the way and the followers and the people watching, more than likely I wouldn't keep doing this. So we're shooting for 52 this year. This is number 1.
I don't know how I got to be number 1, but
because it was destined to be. So, all right. Well, with all of that, and I don't see any more questions, comments, anything I have missed, I am going to summarize things up and end the show for the evening. I would like to urge you all to hit that subscribe button, climb that number up there, and hit that bell as well, so that every single time that I post a new event or I go live, you get notified. The other cool thing that YouTube lets you do is if you see me post a YouTube link and you have your YouTube account, go over to that link, follow it in there, and you can actually pick in there to have it remind you. So not only will it want to remind you because you're already subscribed to the channel, it will specifically remind you because you have found that event and you seem to need, like, and you've told YouTube that you want reminded of that event. So double the opportunities to be reminded, and then you shouldn't miss out or any of that. I'm trying to just provide the best opportunity for you guys to catch it when it's live as you can. If you didn't catch this live and you're still along and you're doing all of that and following along, please leave me a comment down below. Let me know what's up. If you like things, you dislike them, I just want to hear from you. I'm always out there to improve. You will see different changes as well as things are going along. You definitely will see things change and try to make improvements. I'm sure I will screw up along the way, but that's just part of the learning process. So without further ado, I'm going to close the show and just ask you to go check out VanOrd Customs on Facebook, on the internet at vanordcustoms.com, and on Instagram. All of those links are in the video description. Sorry, YouTube lingo's getting me. All of the links to my social media accounts and the website are in the video description below. You can just click on that. It'll take you right there. Follow me for all of that. News coming everywhere. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of Gen 8 pictures, and there's going to be some videos coming out about this weekend and driving it out of the box, across the start line, and literally right through the comps. So thank you guys for tuning in. As always, I've enjoyed seeing your smiling faces in my camera. And I look forward to having you guys on next week. Next week I will have... Sorry, I've scheduled so many people. Wesley, Jared, Stanka, Brazen RC just released that amazing TRX4 package that will set your TRX4 on fire. And so he will be on. We'll talk about some of that, how Brazen got started, and so on and so forth. And then if you go over to the Season 2 playlist, you'll be able to see everybody else that's coming up. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, if it wasn't for all of you, it would just be me talking to a camera, and no one wants to see that. But tonight I had him, so it was kind of us talking to each other. Anyway, thank you guys all for tuning in, and I will catch you all next week on another episode of Live at 9:45.